Just give me a moment here. I'm just getting things set up here. And I'm getting used to a new mouse here. Actually, I'm getting used to the mouse on my laptop because my other mouse kind of died, so I'm a little bit slower here. Please bear with me. Make sure everything is working okay. And I need to get shared over to my group. Which I am doing now. In the meantime, you can say hi to my scarf. She's a pretty warm scarf. Her name is Rosie. And if you are watching live, please introduce yourself in the live chat. Tell me where you're watching from and tell me what's going on in your art right now. Okay, looks like we're good. Let's get to it. Yeah, I'm definitely a little slower. I want to get used to this though because the other mouse was giving me a lot of trouble. Oh, come on. Things are a little too sensitive here. Hi, I'm Penny Bowden. I help aspiring artists draw intuitively and confidently. Drawing is the foundation of visual arts. When your drawing skills improve, you are bound to improve in your chosen art. I want to ask you a question. Do you long to become an accomplished artist but feel so stuck in your current skill level? Do you? Does it feel like everyone else is surpassing you and leaving you in the dust? You may have been approaching drawing in an unhelpful way, but it is totally not your fault. There is so much bad drawing advice floating around out there. It's no wonder you're feeling stuck. Common mistakes can sabotage your hope and destroy your true potential as an artist. Today, I want to help you understand those mistakes so you can move past them and go toward that true potential that you really do have as an artist. Before I begin, I want to invite you to sign up for my last free masterclass of the year. I have included a link above so you can sign up right away. And it is a brand new topic this time, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Pretty pumped and excited about this. I'm going to give you more details on that later, but for now, let's get started on today's topic. Let's start with mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 goes like this: spending a lot of time studying anatomy, structure. Let me start that again. Mistake number 1, spending a lot of time studying anatomy, structure, form, and perspective. Unless you happen to be very interested in anatomy, I can't, for some reason, I'm stumbling over my words this morning. Please forgive me. Unless you happen to be very interested in anatomy, structure, form, and perspective, those methods can be so boring and dry. Dedicated study of those subjects really is more the realm of scientists and really not necessary for artists. You are familiar enough with the objects of your world just by being in the world. You are especially familiar with your favorite subjects. They couldn't have become your favorites if you didn't know them well. The knowledge really is in you. It is your scientific foundation, and you have learned it just by living. Hello, Linda. How are you this morning? Let's make sure I'm not missing anybody else here. Hello, Yaneki. I believe Yannicka. Sorry, Yannicka. I think I got that right. I must have sounded like a total dork pronouncing your name wrong a while ago, but I think I got it right now, Yannicka. Please let me know if I am right. Checking my comments here and get back to my topic. Just want to make sure everybody feels that they are said hi to. Okay, let's move on. So I just told you that you are familiar enough with your favorite subjects. You are familiar with your world just by living in it. The knowledge is in you. Your scientific foundation, that is your scientific foundation, and you have learned it just by living. So, you know, science really, You can get really complicated with science, or you can just be simple with science. And things are disappearing here for me. But getting simple with science, your scientific knowledge is what you know just by living in your world. You know what things look like, right? My job is to help you understand how intuition can help you tap into that knowledge in order to draw accurately, expressively, and confidently, because intuition and science work absolutely fabulous together. You can draw accurately, expressively, and with confidence. You really can, without any formal training in anatomy, structure, form, and perspective. My methods will help you draw truly from the heart. That is what makes true art, because true art really needs to come from here. It's a self-expression. It's your interpretation of your world. This is also why very young children often seem very confident in drawing. They have less experience in the world, so they have not yet been bombarded with too much information. They put what they know into their drawings. They don't worry about the rest. Let's move on to mistake number 2, not forgetting though to keep that childlike nature in yourself so you too can draw more expressively, confidently, and accurately, and draw what matters. So mistake number 2, constant measuring and remeasuring for accuracy. I know that's a big mistake because I've been there, done that. Yes, measuring is important, but constant measuring and remeasuring for accuracy just turns it into a tedious task often, unless you really happen to like measuring. Let's consider the human face. There are all kinds of rules that tell you all the measuring rules for the human face. For example, one of the most well-known examples, the eyes are halfway down the head. So half up here, half down here. Well, that works if the person is looking straight ahead at you, like I am now. But if your subject's head is tilted up or down, the measurement rules do not serve well. Every time you view your subject from a new perspective, you are faced with a whole new set of measurements, whatever your subject may be. Well, the exception, I guess, would be a perfectly round sphere, but that's kind of boring to draw. This is all why using intuition to tap into your basic knowledge of your own world is the best way to become adept at and confident in drawing. Mistake number 3. This is a biggie. They're all biggies. Mistake number 3, failing to trust yourself. When most people say they can't draw, they mean that their drawing doesn't look like a photograph. Drawing is not about perfection. Drawing is not about just copying what you see. Drawing is not about doing it the way the masters did it or about the way your peers do it. Your drawing and your artwork overall is about you. It's your own self-expression. Like your signature. Your drawings show your personality and your own style. Your art really is about you and your own interpretation of your world. When your drawing focuses on perfection, rules, and getting it right, you clog up your mind and allow no room for your intuition to come in and work for you. You have to be open. You have to get out of your head is what you have to do. You have to get out of your head and get to your heart. It's what you have to do in order to help intuition work for you. You must let go, be free, be yourself, and just draw. Forget the worrying. Messes and mistakes are necessary parts of the process. The mistakes you make are a huge part of your learning. They really are your learning. Your mistakes are your learning. That's what mistakes are all about. It's learning by experience. You need to see the beauty in your mistakes. Those harmless mistakes show your beautiful artistic journey and can add a whole lot of character and charm to your drawings. So don't disregard them. Don't disregard them for the beauty that they are. Those mistakes add authenticity. They add the human aspect. The best drawings look drawn. It's called style. I want to show you how you can throw the rules and those crippling expectations of perfection out the window and truly draw from the heart. If you don't put emotion into your artwork, others cannot get emotion out of it, and they will see nothing but your struggle. Art is meant to be shared. We're social creatures. I want to help you make art that you are proud of and that you want to share. In my next live stream, I'm going to be sharing the story of an accomplished artist who started out as an absolute beginner. I'll talk about how that artist made it in the art world. What does made it mean? What does made it look like? What do you think? And I guess you'll find out in my next live stream. That is going to happen on Thursday. So mark it down now so you don't forget. Don't forget that you can become the artist you long to be. I've been through the scary, sometimes called painful, sometimes called uncomfortable stages. I now know how to help make your journey much easier and much more enjoyable. That's why I'm hosting a free masterclass for aspiring artists just like you. And it's a brand new topic this time. You are going to get a free peek at my 4 surefire ways to gain intuitive drawing skills. And we are going to have a close look at each way so that you can incorporate all 4 ways into your plan for artistic greatness, artistic achievement, whatever you want to call it. I try to avoid the word success because success is often in our cultures, success is often linked with money. And you know, if you want to make a living at your art, of course that's part of it, but keep in mind that if you want to make a living at your art, don't forget that it's art, and true art comes from here. True art comes from the heart. Otherwise it's commercial art, which I think is an oxymoron anyways. So be sure to click the link above and sign up for my free masterclass. And for those who show up live, I'm going to be offering a special bonus that can give a humongous boost to your artistic achievement. And another thing, I am going to be having the masterclass at a different time this time. I had it at 10 a.m., the same time as these live streams, Pacific time, which a lot of people told me, well, it's in the middle of the night for me because I'm on the other side of the world. So I plan, right now I'm tentatively planning to have it at 7 p.m. Pacific time in order to try to accommodate some more people. I don't know if I could ever absolutely accommodate everyone, but I'm doing my best to spread it around a little bit. And life is short, and your dreams are worth the time. Don't forget that you can become the artist you long to be, and that you really are meant to be. So click the link above to sign up for my free masterclass. I can't wait to see you there. And it's also going to be the last one that I do this year too. I won't be doing another one again until next year. So if you want to join me for a free masterclass, now is the time. I am now going to go to my comments here. Let's see. Well, I said hello to Linda and Yonica. Yonica says, yes, it's evening now. Yeah, it's crazy, this internet thing. I just find it really cool connecting with all these people all over the world, and it's actually a totally different time of day for some of the people I'm talking to. Kind of dorky. Linda says something's kind of dorky. I'm not sure what's dorky, Linda. Oh, kind of dorky. Yeah. Oh, I said I was probably sounded kind of dorky when I was pronouncing Yonica's name wrong. I mean, I hope I've got it right now, but I know that names are pretty important, and I know it seems silly to try to, because I have a lot of people out there, I know it seems silly to try to do that for everyone, but I just find that names are really important, and I guess that's a teacher in me, and I hate to pronounce someone's name wrong, especially if it comes out really dorky sounding. So Yannicka says no, so no measuring, just drawing, painting, making art. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say no measuring. Measuring, of course, is important, but when you combine your scientific knowledge, your measuring knowledge with your intuition, you know, I like to just, I'm often known, if you've done my free course, which you'll find in my free Facebook group, Intuitive Drawing with Penny Bowden, you'll see that I kind of measure with my intuition. You know, like I said, that knowledge about the distance, the size of things, you know, things like there's about 1 eye width in between your eyes, and the distance, whatever distance across a cat's face, or whatever the size of the paws are compared to the eyes, or whatever. I mean, all that, yes, of course, that's your scientific background knowledge. And that is important. But don't get hung up just on that and just obsess with measuring. Allow your intuition to work with it. And by that, I mean, if you watch my free course, you'll notice that a habit of mine is to just, if I'm not sure, instead of, say, I've drawn the eyes and I want to get the nose in there, if I'm drawing a face, I kind of just let my pen hover over and just get a feel of where it feels right. And that is my intuition tapping into that scientific knowledge that I have in there, the scientific knowledge I have by living in my world and being familiar with the human face. So I just kind of let my pen hover over, and, you know, down here might not, and I'm not going by my face here, I'm just pretending there's a piece of paper and a pen in front of me. Down here doesn't feel quite right. Up here doesn't feel right, it's too high, and just, you know, right here feels about right. So I use that technique often, not just in drawing faces, but in drawing anything. What feels right? Your intuition is your feeling, it's your gut feeling. So you need to tap into that and allow it to help you with the measuring. So rather than just measuring mathematically all the time, you know, actually getting out the pen and measuring, well, it's that long, you know, my mouth is that long, and I mean, there's that much room on each side of the cheek. Yes, that's important. Don't totally disregard that, but allow them to work together. And that's when the expression will come out, because that means you're not totally getting hung up on rules. So, and Yannicka plans to join me on Thursday. That's great. I'll be glad to see you there. And Sandeep is here. Great. Hi, Sandeep. Yannicka says, I like your classes. That's great. You know, it is totally my passion to share my passion, and my passion is drawing. And I knew when I was teaching grade school, although I enjoyed it and I love the kids, I knew I shone more when I was teaching drawing and other arts too, because I taught music and stuff too, and they're all so connected. And I just feel that if we're teaching, we should be teaching our passion, because you're just going to do a better job. I mean, there's no comparison. Okay. Oh, and Yannicka says her name is pronounced correct. Great, that's awesome. I love to hear that. And Linda says, I always wanted to say names right too. Yeah, and Linda, I know you're a teacher too, so yeah, that's a biggie for us teachers. Interesting. Yannicka says there is a meaning to the space between your eyes. This space has to do with tolerance. Interesting. I'd love to know more about that. It's very interesting. And Linda says, I'd hate to measure. Well, even if you're not measuring, you're still measuring. And I guess, Linda, you know, you would be a good person to compare this with, because I know you were a teacher too. It's, you know, we use standard units when teaching children to measure. We use standard units like inches or centimeters, but then we can teach them to say, you know, how many pen caps long is something too. So, you know, it's all part of it. It's being innovative. It's doing what works for you and allowing your intuition to help you. Because the biggest thing, like I said, like if you're familiar with me, you'll be familiar with the fact that I just had a huge awakening when I discovered that intuition was what I needed to trust in order to help me enjoy my art more, make better art. And I hate to use the term better, but I guess what I'm getting at is art that I'm more comfortable with, art that is truly me, art that is truly art. It's called cell proportion. Jonica says it's called cell proportion. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, really, as humans, we have so many things in our world as humans that really aren't necessary. Do we really need inches and centimeters when we can just, go by finger length? And one thing I noticed, I have noticed that my finger from the first joint, my pointer finger from the first joint up to the top of my finger is exactly an inch. And I know it might not be that way with everyone, but I use that for measuring inch a lot of times, even when I have done canning in the past. And, if you need an inch headspace in the jar, use a clean finger to measure that. So it's all about doing what works for you, being innovative. And it's very empowering to know that you don't have to march to the tune of the status quo. You can just be who you are. And doing that really is so freeing and empowering, not just in art, but in all of life. I'm very intuitive cooking too. When I'm deciding, last night I was making salad dressing and I wasn't sure what kind of herbs and spices I wanted. And what I'll do is pull some out of the cupboard and say nutmeg, coriander, and basil. And I'll just say it to myself, nutmeg, coriander, and basil. Does that sound good? Does that feel right? And if it doesn't, then I might change one of those. So that's another way I find, and that came because of using intuition in my art. And I think I've talked about before, if I'm going for a walk and I come to a fork in the path, and I used to think, well, what would make more sense to take? How much time do I have? Blah, blah, blah. Now I just go by what feels right. And that's all because of using intuition in my art. Jonica says, I have done a study about face pattern recognition structure function. It's an old knowledge. I'm going to have to Google that. That sounds really interesting. Linda says, I draw their eyes first, then nose, next mouth. Then comes a chin. Up, she's a face. And top of that, it might be a typo there. Yeah, and it sounds like, Linda, that you have your own little process, and that's great. That's part of using your intuition. But that being said, if something is telling you to start in a different place next time, just go with that. Just go with that. It feels great and it's freeing. And Sandeep says, I care less about technical measurements nowadays, allowing more intuition. That is fantastic. A man after my own heart. Jonica says, just compare two persons and there will always be a difference, how small or how great. Yes, and that's a really good point, Jonica, because that goes toward capturing likeness. Now, in my free course, An Introduction to Intuitive Drawing, which I've mentioned it a few times, so I should put the link in the comments here after I'm done. I have the one lesson where I show you how to draw faces intuitively. And it has to do with what I was talking about a few minutes ago, about getting the feeling where things should go. So if you haven't done that course, or if you haven't done that lesson, please do so. I believe you'll get a lot out of it. And where was I going with this? Oh, okay, likeness, capturing likeness. The best thing to do, I find, is first to be able to draw a convincing human face, one that doesn't look like a monkey. But you know what? If it looks like a monkey, that's okay too, because if you make a human face look like a monkey's face, you really have to give yourself credit, because our faces are a whole lot like monkey faces. We're both primates. There is a lot of similarities. So you got to give yourself credit for what you did do correctly. Always give yourself credit for what you did do correctly. If your poodle looks like a sheep, give yourself credit, because poodles do look a lot like sheep. So, things like that. But again, I'm really bad for going off on a tangent here, because I get so excited about the things I'm talking about. Back to talking about how we can capture likeness. I find, and this is a very intuitive thing, and this was something that I totally became aware of before I even recognized that I was going by intuition. But I was, anyways, before I even realized it. I realized that just thinking about the person that I'm drawing, or the dog that I'm drawing, or the cat that I'm drawing, someone that has to be recognizable. It's a little more difficult with people, because we are so in tune to and familiar with human faces, because we are human. But just thinking about that person can go a long way toward achieving likeness. Now, it doesn't magically happen. When you get your first guitar, you're not going to be rock star overnight, right? It takes time. And it takes time trusting yourself. And if you say, well, this doesn't work, then, it's not going to work. You just have to trust yourself and enjoy the process. And if you get even the slightest thing that looks like that person, then that's great. That's not saying that you can't scientifically or practically recognize the shape of someone's mouth, but allow your intuition in too, and think about that person. And I find portraiture is such an enlightening thing, because I've mostly done portraits. Actually, I should say pretty much close to all the portraits I've done are family. The better you know someone, the more likely you're going to be able to capture likeness, because you know the person well, so you can recognize when something is wrong. And where was I going with this again? I'm really bad for that, getting excited about things and then going off on a tangent and forgetting where I am going. Oh, about portraits. Yes. I know when I first got back into my art after a long hiatus, after raising kids and not really making the time for it when I should have been anyways, I was doing a portrait of my son. And I remember recognizing partway through, when I started putting his glasses on him, I thought, oh my God, he looks like me. I felt like I was drawing myself, and I felt a stronger connection. I find my connection with the people that I draw gets stronger when I draw them, and pets, whatever it is, because I love drawing dogs and cats too. And I can't draw a person without enhancing my relationship with them. And I remember one time I was drawing someone, a family member, who had gone through a long and painful custody battle over his son. And I remember I was drawing a picture of him and his son together, and it really helped me understand and connect more and really understand his struggles in life. And that's a beautiful thing when it comes to drawing portraits. So, if you can connect with that, and instead of worrying about perfection, because the more you worry about perfection, the less perfection you're going to get when it comes to drawing anyways. So if you can focus on that and really think about the person, that goes a huge long way toward it. And like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. But drawing isn't something that you do just for an end result anyways. It's the journey. So if you can't enjoy the journey, you really have to ask yourself, is this really what I want to be doing? But I think most of the time it's not that it's not what you want to be doing. I think most of the time you're confused about what the purpose is. Yannicka says, just compare two-person. Oh, that's one I already read. What a joy to hear you talking about monkeys and sheep. Yeah, I use that for an example, mostly because when I first started drawing my mom's miniature poodles, I started thinking, oh my God, I just drew a sheep. And then I realized that there's really not a whole lot of differences between sheep and poodles when they have that familiar poodle clip or familiar sheep clip. It's just subtle differences. The poodle's snout is a little bit slimmer and longer. One of my mom's miniature poodles, Katie, she has these cool fangs that give really good character. And including those subtle differences, and that's your job, is to look for those subtle differences and see how you can convince your viewer and yourself that it actually is a poodle and not a sheep. And you can be childlike too. Kids, sometimes I remember my son one time when he was very, very young, he was drawing just scribbles on a page, and of course he was a bird lover because I was a bird lover, my mom's a bird lover, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden he goes, oh, it's a bird. So then he added a beak. Allow yourself to be childlike. Sometimes I have artists that are total abstract artists who they just get the abstract colors and shapes down, and then they go forward to find something in it. And artists I'm thinking of are not aiming for any particular thing. Often are not aiming for any particular likeness of anything. They're just enjoying the beauty of abstract shapes and then seeing something in it. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're laying on your back and looking up at the clouds. When you see a whale in the clouds, or you see an elephant in the clouds, or whatever, it's kind of like that. Linda agrees. Linda, you are doing great. Your people are coming along so awesome, and they have so much character. Yannicka says, I like this journey of drawing. So glad I have found you. Well, I am glad I have found you, Yannicka. Because it's almost crazy the way I feel this connection with the people I've met online, right through the glass wall of a computer. I never really thought it possible before, but I've truly connected with the people that I have in my group and that I have as students. You light up my face today giggling. Good, Linda, that's great. That's great, thank you. But anyhow, I am going to sign off pretty quick here, but not before reminding you to get on the list for my last masterclass of the year with a brand new topic. I'm very excited about this topic. I'm going to be talking about my four surefire ways to gain intuitive drawing skills, and I do hope that you join me. And again, I'm going to be having it at 7 p.m. tentatively. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm planning to have it in the evening, my time, which is Pacific time, instead of in the morning, to try to accommodate some more people. So Sandeep says, I like abstracting. Sometimes it works wonders. Absolutely. It's a part of just allowing yourself to be free and to express. Anyhow, sign up for my free masterclass. We'll be talking more about that, and I will also be here with you on Thursday to talk about a case study of an accomplished artist that was once a beginner. So I do hope you join me then, and so I will see you Thursday and see you at my masterclass too. Thank you for joining me.